Semaglutide is amazing for weight loss, blood sugar control, and appetite suppression. Tirzepatide has fewer side effects and is way better for blood sugar regulation and longevity.
Retatrutide is key for fat loss and muscle preservation. Nothing even comes close.
Does this sound familiar when you're scrolling social media? Influencers, biohackers, bodybuilders, everyone has a strong opinion on GLP-1 medications. Some of what you hear is accurate, but a lot of it is one-sided, out of context, or just recycled information to get clicks. And unfortunately, all that noise creates confusion for people that are genuinely trying to understand what's right for them. Before we go any further, here's how I'm breaking this down so you know exactly what to expect. Part 1, I'll explain what each medication actually does. For example, GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide 1 is a natural hormone your gut releases when you eat. GIP, which stands for glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, say that 5 times fast, or some people know that as gastric inhibitory peptide. That's a hormone your gut releases when you eat. And then last, glucagon, a hormone made by your pancreas like insulin, but has the opposite job. Whereas insulin is a storage hormone, glucagon releases energy. And why social media keeps oversimplifying all of it. Part 2, we're going to talk about dosing, because with these meds, the poison's in the portion. And then lastly, part 3, I'll show you how we decide which option fits each person, because it's never one size fits all. All right, let's get started with part 1. Let's make this simple and visual, because once you understand the signals, everything else makes sense. Semaglutide, Tirzepatide, and Retatrutide are all part of the same family, GLP-based medications, but they work on different combinations of receptors in the body. So let's start with Semaglutide, which is a GLP-1 medication, solely 100% GLP or glucagon-like peptide 1. As we said before, it could help appetite, satiation, blood sugar control. Tirzepatide now. Tirzepatide is a dual-action peptide. It actually has GLP-1 and GIP, which is glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, GIP for short. So it actually works not by just controlling appetite, but it also works at the pancreatic level to help regulate blood sugar a little bit better. Lastly, Retatrutide, which is still new. It's investigational, stage 2, not out yet, but the data is looking really promising for it. It is actually a GLP-1 with a GIP, and then it has an added glucagon, which is proven to help the body or let the body release more fat for energy. So it's a triple action GLP. So same category, just different signals. So now let's break down what each receptor does. And we'll start with GLP-1, which is solely semaglutide. With that, you're gonna see a decrease in appetite, an increase in fullness or satiation, and way better blood sugar control. Pancreas works better, blood sugar is more managed. Now with Tirzepatide, or the GIP portion that's in Tirzepatide, you're gonna have stronger insulin response, better pancreatic function, you're gonna have better metabolic efficiency, and better fat kind of management or fat utilization in your system. Last but not least, the glucagon, which is the thing that separates Retatrutide from the other two, you're gonna have an increased energy expenditure, and you're going to have way more fat oxidation. So as you can see, the receptors that get stimulated do slightly different things, but the GLP-1 is mostly about appetite and glucose. The GIP helps your metabolism work more efficiently, and glucagon is the newer of the compounds that adds an energy burn and fat oxidation. That's important because people online talk about these meds like they're all doing the same thing. They're not. This is where social media really messes things up. You cannot accurately say things like this medication is 60% GLP-1 and 40% GIP. But for illustration purposes, we're gonna show you kind of a diagram that does break it out a little bit to percentage, just so you have an understanding of how much of each one that's in the actual medication, whether it be semaglutide, tirzepatide, or retatrutide. These compounds differ in how strongly they bind, how powerfully they activate, and how effective they can be at each receptor site. So the honest way to explain them is by relative emphasis, not fake percentages. These bars aren't exact measurements, they're just a visual. But semaglutide is purely a GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide. Tirzepatide activates both the GLP-1 and the GIP, but is more GIP dominant in how it was designed, so you get a little bit more of the blood sugar control with that. Now, Retatrutide, it activates all three with a strong GIP signal, still just like Tirzepatide, and then it has the added glucagon component. That's why people feel different on different medications. But once again, to just break it down, semaglutide's 100% of a GLP-1, better for appetite control, satiation, a little bit of blood sugar control. Tirzepatide, you're gonna have, about half the effectiveness of semaglutide when it comes to those benefits, but you do have the pickup in the pancreatic function, blood sugar control, helps with insulin resistance. And then Retatrutide still has a similar GLP-1 binding effect, but now it has an added glucagon that helps with lipolysis or fat oxidation. So here's the easy way to remember this. The GLP-1 is your brake pedal. It slows appetite and stabilizes blood sugar. The GIP portion is like engine tuning, helping the body use more fuel efficiently. And then lastly, glucagon is a controlled burn, increasing energy output. As this category evolved, it didn't replace the brake, it added more systems. So when people ask which one is the best, that's the wrong question. The right question is, which signal does a person actually need? And that brings us to the part nobody online wants to talk about. When people rush the dose, appetite drops too fast. Then protein drops, strength drops, your energy drops, muscle loss increases, and eventually people say, the medication stopped working. It didn't stop working, it was used incorrectly. This is why you should seek out somebody who can actually guide you through this process the right way. Make sure that they start you low, adapt the medication or the peptide to you, start titrating it slowly per if you're getting results or no results, and then find minimum effective dose to be able to achieve your overall best results and not create bigger problems. So here are some red flags that you may be dosed incorrectly or taking too much when it comes to GLPs. You can't hit your protein. You might have constant nausea or vomiting, even worse. Your strength's declining because you're not eating enough food, you're losing some muscle tissue, your metabolic rate's starting to slow down. Extreme fatigue, lack of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals cause you to feel tired all the time. Constipation, or you can't poop. A lot of times with the GLP-1 portion, that receptor actually causes gastric empty and slowdown, which makes a lot of people feel constipated or they don't poop. And obviously if you don't poop, that could create a bigger problem. And then last but not least, rapid weight loss, and then rebounding all your weight back because you put yourself metabolically in a worse position and now you start gaining the weight back. Those aren't always willpower issues. Those are dosing issues. Success isn't not being able to eat. Success is controlled hunger, steady energy, fat loss, and muscle preservation. That requires patience and precision. This is where clinical experience matters. Different people need different tools. So here are 3 simple GLP profiles. The first one, for somebody that's maybe appetite driven or overeating, can't control their hunger, they don't get satiated in a meal and they tend to overeat constantly, a strong GLP-1 signal could help. So with the second GLP profile, somebody who has insulin resistance or glucose issues, uncontrolled blood sugar, usually using something like a dual signal approach like Tirzepatide could help them out. It has the added GIP, which helps the pancreas work better, helps fix insulin resistance much quicker. So that may be an option for them. And then the last profile is someone with advanced metabolic slowdown, someone who's maybe metabolically damaged, someone who's chronically dieted most of their life. Maybe they lost a bunch of weight, but they lost a bunch of muscle and they rebounded the weight back and their metabolism just sucks. A multi-signal approach, something like Retatrutide, which just so you guys know, it's still not on the market, it's still in stage 2, but it's showing promising effects as far as being able to help pick up the metabolic rate, allow the body to use more fat, and hopefully dig that person out of a hole. This is educational, not personal medical advice. But the point is simple. There is no one-size-fits-all option. These medications are powerful metabolic tools. Used correctly, they can change lives. Used carelessly, they can create side effects, muscle loss, frustration, and ultimately leaving you in a worse off position than when you started. That's why education matters, monitoring matters, and dosing matters. The poison's in the portion, but when used precisely, it's not poison at all. It's optimization. When you understand the science, you stop chasing trends and start getting real, sustainable results.